All right. So my name is Michelah Brown. I'm a PhD student in the School of Film and Theater, and I research the metaphysical dilemma of the Black body in performance. Um, Basically, I wanted to talk about being an artist and getting your PhD because I feel that I'm an artist. I went to Duke Ellington School of Performing Arts. I also have a degree in music, and I was, or I am a professional actor in New York and New Zealand. Also did modeling in Korea, and I'm a musician. And when I was pursuing my PhD, a lot of people were trying to figure out like how that connection of being an artist and academia was going to connect. They were saying, well, are you going to be, a professor? Are you going to be a performer? And I just wanted to talk about more about the artistic brain and kind of how you can use that to your advantage. So artistry and academia, as an artist, a lot of people see us as people who are like hermits, like living in in kind of the middle of nowhere. I grew up in France in America. So in France, kind of being an artist is something that is kind of a looked at as someone that's a deviant from the rest of society. But in reality, you can, be an academic and a true artist, and you can use that to get your PhD. Okay, so one of the main things that I struggled with was when I decided to get my PhD was, should I separate my academia and my arts? I would be writing plays, playing shows, and then I would be coming home and writing a thesis. And I did a scratch night in London for a play that I was doing. And I told my supervisor about it, and he said, "Well, you can add this into your PhD." And that was something that I really didn't think about. Like my whole life, getting my bachelor's, my master's, I had always separated my artistic endeavors from my academics. And then when I decided to get my PhD in film and theater, it kind of became where I needed to join the two to create a practice part of my PhD. So one of the things that a lot of people talk about is like creative writing and the difference of academic writing. I always, have an issue with academic writing because I am more of a creative writing person. But instead of, separating your creative writing from your academic writing, you can kind of conjoin the two and write a thesis that is authentically you, as long as you are, sourcing and, doing the right citations. There's nothing wrong with this poetic idea of writing your thesis. Um, that was something that I really struggled with, was the idea of um, having to put aside my creative writing brain in order to create a thesis that was strictly academic, and to see if my writing was good enough to be submitted in academia because it was kind of a creative writing background. So a lot of the things that a lot of people, I talk about the creative mind a lot, and that has to do with the fact of how like my mind works. First thing I thought was, should I be in academia? Should I go about getting my PhD? When I first decided to get my PhD, I was applying. Well, I was living in Korea for 2 years, and I was applying from there. And um, I had a meeting with one, I guess, school, and they told me, like, you're not going to be able to finish, you're not going to be able to pay for it, all these things without really understanding like my background. And so I started to question myself, like, should I be in academia? Just because and I like to tell people it's fine if you just want to get a PhD. Like my dream for a long time was to get my PhD. I put it in my cloud dream kind of situation. And it's totally fine, to do that. The other thing was being in classes and stuff, you feel like your brain isn't working the same way as your colleagues. Um, for example, I was in like the beginning workshops and all these people were, talking about how they're taking data and doing all these things and how they're focusing on they're getting up at 8 a.m. They're going to the gym, you know, they're what is it, writing, and then they have a job, and then they're teaching, and they're doing all these things. And I do a lot of things that a lot of people would say is impossible to fit into a day, but the way I do them is very, nonchalantly. Like I am a very kind of, not relaxed, but the way in which I go about my day is, I probably don't know what I'm doing in the next 5 minutes, even though it's planned out, and I'll deal with it when I get to it. So if you can't compare yourself to the way your colleagues are, you know, doing their PhD, because you guys are not the same person, it's not the same souls, so you have to, go your own path. I get bored easily. The reason why I said that is because studying and writing is very hard, especially getting up and forcing yourself to write. Um, and I feel like the best way to deal with that is to kind of do a little bit of writing, but maybe take some time and do some drawing or something like that. That kind of breaks up the monotony. Um, so if you're struggling with time management, like I always do, there will be, times 2 weeks where I don't write anything. And I have friends who will go a month without writing anything and then try to write everything within the last 2 days before their supervisor meeting. And really that's kind of a normal, struggle that all PhD students go through. So you just kind of have to accept that and just kind of understand that, that's totally fine. And the thing is, the last point on this slide is to work with your mind, not against it. The way that your mind works is specific to the way that you work. And I know that there's a lot of advice that people are giving you of how you can get your PhD. You should do this. You should join this club. You should meet these people. You should go for this. But in all reality, if you struggle with depression or anxiety or something like that, like I do, there's certain things that you just cannot physically do. So the only thing that you can do is do what you can when you can do it, and say la vie to the rest. Mm. Sorry, I'm just not sure. Oh, sorry, I skipped. Okay. All right. So when you're doing a creative practice of your PhD, you have to think of it as one one project, not two separate projects that you're putting in, because obviously they have to complement each other. Um, So when you're doing a practice, your thesis can be shorter than the normal thesis. I think I don't know the 100% the correct word count, but I think it's like 100,000. And if you're doing a practice, I think it's like 60,000 or something like that. So even though you have, a shorter part of it, that part of the thesis has to complement the practice. And when you're creating your practice, you have to understand why you are doing that specific practice. What part of this practice are you accomplishing that you can't accomplish with a normal thesis? And you have to look at how you're going to do this practice. Are you going to do it in a public display? Is it going to be just theoretical? And you have to be realistic of what you can and cannot accomplish with this practice. Because a lot of artists, we have, this idea of like, we're going to do this whole Broadway production, but you have to think about timing, and you have to think about funding. And possibly in the future, you could accomplish that. But in this time frame, what can you accomplish? You have to set up a time scale and try to work towards that time frame, but be realistic. again, be realistic. Definitely just, think about what you can accomplish within the time frame that you have, within the funding that you have, and what's not going to 100% drive you insane to accomplish.
Is that you?
I'm just trying to get it to.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't sure.
Oh,
No, keep going. You're good.
I don't know if it's working. I don't know what's going on with it, but yeah. Okay, well, maybe that's me because it's
Did
not
you have
really.
more?
Yeah, I did, but it's not like working. Okay. Oh yeah,
Try to
yeah,
reshare it.
yeah, yeah. This is
You've
it.
got time.
This is the last one. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
So the last, just my last slide. So my last slide is just keep going. Like I feel like I hit a lot of, you know, just like roadblocks just in academia when I was sorry, let me stop this just in case anybody has any issues. So I when I was getting my undergraduate degree, I had a lot of personal tragedies. I had three deaths in the family, and I had, basically, I came back to my house and it was completely empty. And I wanted to, really give up during that time. But, when you're dealing with these types of, adversities, I think the best way is to just keep going. A lot of people will say, like, I need to take, my scheduled time off and stuff, which is totally good if you need to do that. But I just would recommend that you reevaluate like what you really need. And if you take a break, will you come back to it? Because I think whenever we take breaks, sometimes it's kind of hard to, come back to what you initially started. So my biggest advice is to finish what you start and just keep going, even if it's a small thing of writing one sentence that day. That's a super huge accomplishment with, how complex life can be. So thank you guys so much. That's my presentation.